Alright guys, so we have our models and controller files set up. We have our database tables. So we're going to start to work on the layout of the application. So let's open up the albums controller, and the index of the albums is actually going to be our home page. Alright, so let's create a function here called index. Alright, and then we're going to return a view. And here, let's say albums.index. Alright, now we're going to be fetching the albums from the database and passing them in here, but for now we're just going to load the view. Alright, and then let's see, let's also create a create function. And we're going to return a view from albums.create. Alright. So let's go ahead and make those views. So if we go to resources, views, let's create a folder here called albums. And inside albums, we're going to have a file called, what are we going to call this? create.blade.php. Okay, and then we also need the index one. So let's say index.blade.php. Okay. Now, for the moment, let's just go in here and say album index. And then here we'll say create album. And we're going to create routes. So we need to go to our routes folder and then web.php. And right now we have the slash going, it's just loading a welcome view. We don't want that. What we want is for the slash to load from the albums controller the index method. Alright, and then let's see, I also want slash albums to go to that as well, so we'll just do that. And then for the create, let's paste that in, and this will be slash create, and that's going to go to the create function. Alright, so let's test those out. So if we reload the page, we get album index. If we go to slash albums slash create, oh, we need to put that here, albums slash create. And now it loads that view. Good. So that's what we want. Now we're going to start to build the upload form in a minute, but I want to create a layout first that we can extend, that our views can extend. So in the views folder, let's create a new folder called layouts, and let's create a file called app.blade.php, and let's put some basic HTML in here. Title, we'll just say photo show. Now I actually want to use Foundation for the front-end framework. We've been using Bootstrap, but I want to use Foundation, and I'm just going to use the CDN. So let's search for Foundation CDN. And we want to grab the complete CSS, which is right here. So I'm going to just copy that. And then let's put in our link tag and just point to that file. Alright, and then in the body, we're going to create a div. And Foundation doesn't use a container class, they use a row class, which kind of does the same thing, pushes it all to the middle. And then in here we want to do a yield, and we want to yield the content. So this is where the view will be displayed. So let's save that, and then we'll go to albums index, and from here we're going to want to extend the layout. So let's get rid of that. And let's do extends, and it's in the layouts folder, and then app. Alright, and then we also want the content section. Okay, and then in here let's put in H3, and we'll just say create album. Alright, so now if we go to Photoshop dev slash albums slash create, let's see, why is it not? Is it using? Oh, I actually put it in the wrong file. That's in the index file. Let's copy that, put it in the create, and then in the index we'll do the same thing, but let's just say albums. Alright, so now foundation is kicked in. Now we're going to use Laravel Collective, which is what we've been doing for forms, and we're going to create a couple form components like we've done in past projects. So let's go to our terminal here, and we're going to set up Laravel Collective with Composer. So we just need to do Composer require, and then we want to do Laravel Collective /HTML, and then we want a colon and then some more quotes, and in here we're going to say we want version 5.4.0. Alright, so let's go ahead and run that. And I'm just going to open up the documentation page because there's a couple things we need to add. We'll go to HTML and forms, and then we're going to have to add this stuff. So let's copy that and go to our app service provider and go down to providers. I'm sorry, that's not right. We want to go to the config file, which is config and then app.php, and then go down to the providers, which are right here, and just add on to that. Okay, and then we want to grab these two things here and put those in the aliases. So right here. Alright, now we're also going to create our own form service provider. So if we go back to Commander, we're going to do PHP artisan, space artisan, and then make provider, and let's call this form service provider. Okay, and then we're going to add that to this list of providers right here. Okay, so we'll do app/providers/form service provider class. Alright, and let's see. Let's save this, and then we have to create that or go to that file, which is going to be in providers, and then form service provider. And then what we want to do is we want to say we want to use form, and then go down to the boot and create or register the components that we're going to want to use. So for that, we're going to take that form object that we just brought in, and we're going to do component. Okay, and this is going to be this for the text component, text field. We're just going to call it text, and then the location is going to be in the views folder, and then in a folder called components. Alright, components, and then a folder called form, and then a file called text, which will be textblade.php. Alright, and then we're going to put in an array here, and this will be able to take a name, a value, okay, and the value by default I'm going to set to null. Alright, and then after that we're going to want our attributes. Okay, we want this to be able to take in attributes, which is going to be an array, and we're going to set it to an empty array by default. Alright, so that's for the text component, and now what I'll do is just copy this, and I'll paste this in a few more times. So we're also going to have a text area component. You know what, let me just let me wrap this. So I'm going to just go to view, toggle soft wrap, and that way you guys can see everything. So this next one here is going to be text area. And same thing here, we'll just change that to text area. It's going to take a name, a value, and attributes. This one here is going to be for the submit. Okay, and that'll go in components form submit. And that's going to, it doesn't need a name, we're just going to put in a value, which by default is going to be just the text submit. Alright, and then attributes. And then this one here is going to be hidden. Change this to hidden. And that's going to take name, value, and attributes. And then this last one here is going to be for the file itself. Alright, so we'll change that to file. And that's going to take in just the name and attributes, not the value. Alright, and that should do it. So let's save it. And we can now close that up. And we need to go to our views folder now, which is in resources. And we want to create a folder here called components. Okay, and then we're going to have a folder called form. And this is where we'll create the view files for our components. So let's start out with text.blade.php. Now we're not using Bootstrap, so we want to make sure we use we don't use Bootstrap classes because it's not needed. If you look at the foundation documentation for text inputs, they put the label and the input within label tags. So that's what we're doing here. Alright, so let's do form label, and this is using Laravel collective syntax. And then we'll pass in the name. Alright, and then right under that, let's do form text, and that'll take in name, value, and attributes. Okay, so we'll save that, and then I'm going to just copy this, and then we're going to create another component field in here. So let's say new, and then call this text area .blade.php, and we'll paste this in. So we're going to have a label here, and then this is going to be form text area. Okay, and that's going to take in name, value, and attributes. Save that. Okay, next we'll do the submit. So let's say new file, submit.blade.php, and let's just put a div in here, no class. And then to generate the submit button, we can say form submit, and then that's going to take in the value, which by default will be the text submit, and then the attributes. Alright, we'll save that, close that up. Now let's do the hidden field. So we'll say new file hidden.blade.php. Okay, and we'll just do form hidden and pass in name, value, and attributes. Okay, and finally we have the file template or component. So let's say new file, and we'll call this file.blade.php, and let's just do form file and then pass in the name. Alright, now I'm just actually going to just wrap this in a div. Alright, and we'll save that. So now we have all of our component view files here. So we can use these inside of our form now. So let's go back to the form, which is in albums, and then create blade. And just to save a little time, I'm going to just paste this in. Okay, so we're opening our form open. The action is going to go to albums controller store. It's going to be a post. And since we're using a file, we need to add the enc type attribute and set it to multi-part form data. Okay, just like you would whenever you have any kind of file upload. And then we just put in our text component, which is going to be the album name. We put in this text component, which will be the description. We have the cover image. Actually, you know what? This should be text area. Alright, and then we have the file, which is going to be called cover image, and then the submit, and then we close the form. So let's save that, and let's make sure it actually displays. Hopefully. Oh, store has albums controller store has not been defined. So let's just go to our controller and define that. So public function store, and then that should be passed in an ID. Actually, no, it shouldn't. It should be passed in a request. So let's say request, and then a variable called request. And for now, I'm just going to say return. We'll do that in the next video. So let's reload. Alright, that's still not working. Albums controller, store not defined. Public function store. Albums controller at store. Oh, the route. Let's add the route. So if we go to routes and then web.php, let's go ahead and just copy one of these, and then this is going to be a post request. So we'll do route post to albums/store, I believe. Yeah, album/store, and then it's going to go to store. Alright, let's save that. There we go. So now we have our form. Alright, so in the next video we're going to add functionality to this. I also want to get a nav bar, or a top bar, which it's called in Foundation, so that we can, go back and forth from the home page to the form and so on. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.